Young entrepreneur needs tips.
I lost $700, I think, in the last hour, right? But I also made $48,000 in 6 months because
you need to know how to do all of these things before you even open the doors. And people don't realize that. They think they can just go and start a business and don't realize all the various things that have to go into it. Well, Gummy.
Yes.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Yeah? How was your week?
So far, so good.
Yeah?
Well, it's Friday, so.
It's Friday. we're recording a couple days later than usual. It's got schedules and such.
So golf season started. That's always a good thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So actually, let's talk about that, right? So, so many people get hung up on starting their company. Okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to build it? How am I going to fund it? Et cetera, et cetera. But what they don't always think about is building those relationships that are going to continue with your business. Like, for example, you might not go out and sell $1 million tomorrow, and you probably won't, and you likely won't go out and sell $1 million tomorrow. But 2, 3, 4 years from now, you might get that 1 or 2 contracts where you go out and sell $1 million, like in one deal, right? A lot of times those things start on things like the golf course.
Oh, yeah.
Right. The networking, the camaraderie, whether guys or girls, doesn't matter. Sometimes it's throwing axes or bowling or something like that. Tell people your experiences on the golf course when you do that.
Oh, so I always make an effort to take out new people or use it as a way to build relationships, right? Like I play in a ton of outings. We golf pretty much every week, and we try to bring one new person or 2 new people with us every time we go.
Right.
Right. So I'll take 1 existing one and 2 new ones and try to go out once a week. And not just for me, but also a lot of times I want to introduce someone that I know to someone else. And I have multiple examples of where people I introduced on the golf course have done multi-million-dollar deals.
On the course.
Well, not really.
I mean, the relationship starts on the course. Yeah.
Yep. And then, we'll sit down afterwards and we'll have a couple of drinks, have, some food.
Yeah.
And that's when people start talking, and generally they exchange numbers. And then 6 months later, I find out that they started working together. Yeah. I'm like, that's awesome. That's exactly what the point is.
Right. And I remember, so what I do, one of the things that I do, in fact, you come with me, of course, is I'll take some clients or new prospective clients up to like a Flyers game or something like that, right? Like we'll get like 10 guys or 10 people together, and we'll go to the Flyers game or something. Like I'm going to do the Phillies this year as well. And the reason I do that is because years ago, when I was working at a company in Philadelphia, they had a club box, right? And every once in a while, the club box would come to our department, and they'd allow us to use it. And I remember talking to the guy that worked in that box, and he worked that same box for like 15 years. And we were just talking. I was like, do you see a lot of people coming here for business? He goes, Mike, because I was talking to him, and he knew my name. He was like, Mike, and I remember his words. I've seen $100 million deals go down in that chair right there.
Yep.
People signing $100 million deals right there in that chair. And I was like, and this was 30 years ago, 25 years ago. So it's crazy how stuff like that, just like the casual, whether it's golf or going to a game or just something like that, meeting at a restaurant for dinner, how that kind of stuff can really lead to really big business down the line.
And I think it is one of the things that is grossly underestimated nowadays.
It's overlooked. It's entirely overlooked.
Well, everybody's in this mindset of, I gotta make videos and connect with people online and, network online and all this stuff. Meanwhile, if you take a client to a sporting event and talk almost no business during the entire time, you're far more likely to get business from them than any videos, any content, any emails, it doesn't matter what. There is nothing that competes with hanging out in a social setting and get to know them.
Yeah,
nothing.
And the reason, in my opinion, if you have a different opinion, let me know. My opinion is because there's 2 factors there. You got it. Before I'm willing to put that kind of money in your pocket, I have to know you and I have to trust you. And you can't do that online.
It helps if you like them too.
I think that's what I meant. I need to like
Yeah.
you and I have to trust you. Because if I like you, I know you. I
Right.
have to like you and I have to trust you. That's
Right.
what I meant to say. Thank you. So yeah, because you can't do that online. You can't get that connection online.
It's very hard, right? Like one of the reasons when I'm taking on a large marketing client, my first question is always, do you golf? If they say yes, I take them golfing before I sign anything with them.
Yeah.
Because it also teaches me a lot about that client. And I have actually told someone after I took them golfing, I'm like, I don't think we're a good fit.
Wow. Really?
Yep. I didn't do it on the golf course.
No,
We waited a few days and I called him back and I said, look, I kind of been reviewing this and I think you would be better off with someone else.
That's why he beat you. Yeah, he beat you.
No, it was how he reacted to irrelevant stuff. It was the fact that we were on a golf course on a beautiful Friday afternoon, and of course it was crammed, and he had zero patience for anybody else out there.
Oh, he's going to do that to your staff. Yeah, yeah. He's going to
right?
He's going to decimate your staff. Yep.
So, like the more time I spent out there with him, the less I liked him, and the less I wanted to do business with him.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this is not going to end well. Like if this is how you treat strangers on a golf course that are out here having fun, like what are you going to do when there's money on the line or business on the line? Like, is this how you're going to behave?
Timelines that have to be met and suddenly,
where
is it? Where is it? Yeah.
Are you going to be hounding my project manager because she didn't reply to your email in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this is not promising at all.
That's a very good point. So it's not just a matter of building the relationships you want, but also staying away from the ones you don't want. That's an excellent point too.
Oh yeah. I can tell you a funny story. So, a guy that I was very good friends with, I had never played golf with him, and he and I and a few other guys decided all to go out the one time. And this is like the most professional guy you'll ever meet. He's in HR, right? So everything is like carefully worded, and every email is like, meticulously crafted, and comes off always wore like button-down shirts and like always like very, very put together, and everything was. I took this guy on the golf course, and I saw like a whole different person. Like talking about having golfer's Tourette, like it was hysterical.
Oh my gosh!
But like after playing golf with him, our relationship changed because I realized that the work facade that he had on all the time wasn't who he was all the time.
Oh,
right. So like. I went from being very careful, like how I spoke around him, to like throwing F-bombs because like now I've heard him say way worse things than that.
I mean,
right?
I've heard the same thing. You take someone to a bar for happy hour or something like that, get a couple of drinks, and then you'll find out who they are really quick.
Right.
Really quick.
But yeah, I mean, social events, getting to know people outside of whatever that work setting is a great idea because it allows you to look at often not just their work, but who they are as a person and like their personality. And I think that, especially if you're in a service business, like you and I are both a service business technically, right? The relationships that we have with people and the ability to communicate effectively with them and know how they're going to react to certain things, right? Like I have clients that I know I can call them and say, hey, we need to push back your project 3 days. And they're going to be like, okay.
Yeah, they won't care.
We also have clients that if we don't deliver the day before it's due,
they're freaking out.
Correct. Yeah. Like I'll be getting emails that night going, it's due tomorrow, right? Like, is it coming tomorrow? Is it going to be there tomorrow? It's very interesting.
And sometimes you learn about your clients as you're working with them, right? So, for example, one time this happened, but it happens to other attorneys that I'm aware of, where I sent an invoice to somebody and they sent it back and they line itemed it. They like crossed things out, wrote in certain things. I was like, no. I'm not, you don't get to do that. You don't get to tell me how long it took me or what it should have taken me. This is what I actually did, and this is what you agreed to. And so, of course, I'm never working with that person again. But people think that's okay too, that they can just go and do that. And it's stuff like that. I know it's crazy, right? It's stuff like that where you start learning over time what kind of clients or customers you want to have, what kind of relationships to build. But again, a lot of times it's done outside of the office. You know, it's done, like you said, either on the golf course or in a club box or somewhere at a sporting event, or just at a restaurant. Take them out to dinner.
And it could be anything, right? Like yesterday, I took a guy to the cigar lounge.
Oh, nice.
We sat there for 2 hours and I learned more about the guy in 2 hours, and like only to find out that I had, because of his personality and how he was. So his nervous, the nervous version of himself becomes a goofball, right? When you get him out of a situation where he's nervous, totally different personality, right? But I had only seen him and hung out with him in situations where he was always slightly nervous, so he was always a goofball. Sitting there with him for 2 hours yesterday, and I'm like, this totally changes how we need to approach your business and do things, right? But you know, it's situations that are more casual will tell you a lot more about working with a person than actually work environment does, I think.
Yeah, it
does. A lot of times.
So, I was thinking about that when you were talking this morning. I was like, you know, we should probably start telling people about those kinds of things, because it's more than just posting videos. It's more than just creating a website and putting out newsletters. That stuff is a step, but it's not the big step. The big step is, quite frankly, the one-on-one interactions. They mean more than anything.
Especially if you are like a local business, you're focused on local clientele, regardless of how big or small it is, right? And it's interesting because just through like casual networking, so to speak, what I call casual networking is like golf outings and all kinds of stuff. I've gotten introductions to people that I was like, huh, look at that. You're a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. Nice to meet you, right? Like,
I had to pick you up this morning. I had no idea.
Right,
I saw your house.
Like I'm pretty sure I was heckling you on the 7th hole, wasn't I? Right? But it's those situations where you realize that, you know, it doesn't matter who they are as far as a work life. They're still a person, right? Like they still have birthday parties. They still have hobbies, right? Like they like to go fishing or golfing or camping and it's just a way to deepen relationships with not just people you know, but also people you don't know. Like it was funny because I remember we had been trying to get a hold of the marketing director of a pretty large organization here, because a couple of the marketing people there had wanted us to get involved with some projects, and we could never find like a time long enough where we could nail down the marketing director. By a random coincidence, he was playing at a golf outing I was playing at.
Get out.
And we sat after the golf outing by a campfire and talked for almost 3 hours.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? That's a guy I couldn't get on his schedule for like 7 months. And then at a random golf outing, we sat and shut the shit and talked for
so cool.
3 hours. Now, guess what? If I call him and say, "Hey, I need time on your schedule," he's like,
"Let's go back and sit down.
Let me move some stuff around."
That's
right?
great.
Do you want to go golfing? Sure.
Right.
Like, you want to book the tee time, or do you want me to?
That's awesome.
But those are the types of things, like when you get into and understand someone's hobbies. Like, if I called you and said, "Hey, next Tuesday, I have 2 box seats to the Flyers. You want to go?" Yeah. Right. Like, you're gonna be like, "Yeah." Right. So you can use hobbies as access as well, right? Like, I'm not saying it's opportunistic. I'm saying it's just, that's the reality of life. That if you have someone that's extremely busy in a stressful position that you're trying to talk to, if you can get them in a more social setting, you're going to get way further ahead than everybody else. And
the new one that I want to start doing real soon with clients and prospects is, I've told you about this before, the sporting clays. Shooting the sporting clays. Oh my God, that is so much fun.
My mortgage guy, so they're like 2 independent guys. They aren't our bigger. Every year they do an event up at
Lehigh Valley.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to do golf. They wanted to do something different. Yeah. So every year they bring up like 40 or 50 people.
Yep.
All realtors and
Isn't it great?
Marketing people.
So much fun.
Oh, dude, like the relationships they have with those realtors is like, what mortgage company is gonna go compete?
Right.
Right? Are you gonna take them up there? And then there's a barbecue place.
Yep.
Forget what it's called.
Mission Barbecue's up there.
No,
Oh,
like like a good barbecue place.
Oh, boo.
No, boo.
Mission Barbecue sponsors the one of the events that I go to up there.
Oh, really?
So that's why I say boo.
Okay. But there's a barbecue place that's like a mile away, right? And then everybody goes there afterwards.
Oh my God, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
we went there.
The little,
yes.
It's like a bar,
yes.
but it's a bar. Yeah.
It's a little hole in the wall.
Yes.
With the greatest ribs ever.
Yes.
Ever.
So that's where we go after. So we do the event there,
yeah.
right? Like you have coffee and donuts and stuff.
Right.
And then we do the thing. And then everybody goes there for lunch afterwards.
That's so funny.
And they bring out the full spread.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it is fantastic. And if someone ever says, I'm buying a house, who do you think I'm referring them to for a mortgage? Yeah. Right. Like they're good guys, but like they're always top of mind because I always remember, you know.
Who would have thought sporting clays, or who thought they'd go out there and shoot some sporting clays? It's so cool.
It really doesn't matter what it is.
That's the point. Like, there's a million different ideas. There's 100 different ways of doing this.
Like I was talking to someone the other day and I'm like, hey, would you be interested in if we did a whiskey tasting and got like an actual expert in to walk you through the whiskeys and like what you should be smelling, what you should be tasting and all that stuff. And I think I ended up having like 20 or 30 people interested in something that I thought was going to be like, oh, we might get 5 or 6.
Our friend Jay London, he keeps talking about this person he knows that hand rolls cigars, and he wants to get everybody together for an event with the hand rolled cigars.
She's up in.
Oh, you know her? Okay.
Yeah, she's up in Bethlehem, Allentown.
Okay.
Something like that.
That's crazy. That's a great event.
It's a great event.
Right? You know how many people would love to do that? Not just men. I know plenty of women that smoke cigars too.
Oh, yeah.
So...
But it's also cool. Like if you've never seen it, it's really cool how they do it.
I was kind of curious about that. So anyway, I
actually went to a wedding where they.
Oh, did you? Instead of their dessert tray, they had hand roll cigars.
No, so that was the kind of like the party favor.
Oh, cool.
So like you could go up and she would literally ask you like, do you have a preference with tobacco? And
it's that detailed.
Wow. Yeah. So, and she was sitting there and she had multiple different types of tobacco.
That is so cool.
Yeah. She basically made me a custom cigar. And I was like, this is pretty cool.
Last time I smoked a cigar, I think it was at your house and I got really sick. So I probably won't be smoking cigars anytime soon.
I don't think that was the cigar.
You don't think it was a cigar?
No.
What was it?
It was probably because you hadn't eaten properly before smoking a cigar.
Oh, maybe.
So
I don't smoke cigars, so I don't know.
So that is one of the things that's why like in my humidor, when I take someone new, I always have sugar packs.
Oh, okay.
Because if you try smoking cigars without having eaten or not used to it, there's something in the cigar that will actually make you feel nauseous. Yeah. So if you eat a sugar pack, it takes the nausea away.
Oh, good to know. Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
All right. now that you know about cigars, let's get into it. Today, we are on the subreddit entrepreneurship, and we will start with, this one looks good. Hey, if you're having a good time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Oh, and press the like button. Leave a comment.
Do you like the like button?
I like the like button.
I really like the like button.
Do you know what I love, though?
What?
Comments. I love comments.
Comments are great.
Especially if they're questions that we can get to and actually answer.
That's right. So leave us some comments and we'll get back to you on those.
Okay.
Let's get back to it. So this is from Adventurous Art 995, who says, how to split interest with your partner. She says, my boyfriend and I have a business idea and we've just started building the company. From the beginning, we agreed to keep things as clear and straightforward as possible without mixing our relationship into the business side of things. I know it can be risky to go into business with a partner, family, or friends, but that's not really the point here. The plan was for both of us to have equal ownership, 50-50 split. But now we've reached a point where we need to invest our own money into the business. He can put in 4,000 euros. I can put in 8,000 euros as our initial capital. Even though we had originally agreed on a 50-50 ownership, now it turns out I'm putting in twice as much. I'm starting to feel that an equal split doesn't really reflect the situation anymore. Don't laugh. This is very common.
I know, but here's the funny thing, right? Like literally the paragraph before we're trying not to bring our relationships into
Oh, of
it
course,
and family,
of course.
and then immediately there's a problem.
Of course there is.
That is going to reflect.
For those of you who have gone into business with a partner, family member, significant other, how do you handle this? If you want to keep things fair and transparent, I feel like we should adjust the ownership to something like 60-40 at least. What worked for you?
What worked for me was not to do business with family anymore.
With friends. First of all, and this is beyond partnership.
Yeah.
I will not hire someone that I know as a family or friend, or someone that is from a family or member or friend, because if and when I have to fire that person, I'm going to lose that relationship.
Yeah.
I'd rather keep the friendship.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would.
I'm with you, right? So I can tell you because I've had a business with family. My family had a business together, and you hear more cases of where these things go wrong than when they go right, right? And I'm not saying they can't go right, because I know a husband and wife team that are doing brilliantly. They have a cabinetry store, multiple locations. They're in the process of franchising, and they just work really well together, right? But they had been married for 5 years before they even started, right? So all the capital that came in was not hers or his, it was theirs, right? So they were in on everything together from day one. They literally started this cabinet business out of their garage, right? Now they have like 3 or 4 showrooms and stuff.
So it can work.
It can work, right? Where this is getting murky already is the fact that you're in a relationship, so it's not ours, it's yours and his, right? So immediately the business is ours, but the capital is coming from, like, this is murky already. This is stuff you should have talked about before you started the business, going, hey, if we have to put money in, is the equity going to split? Because when you have to do it afterwards, it's an awkward conversation, right?
So, yes. I'm going to give you one story that is, I might as well be 100 stories, right, over my career. So this is very recent too. So about 2 years ago, I had husband, wife, son, and daughter-in-law.
Okay.
Right?
So 4 people.
4 people. The husband owned I'm not going to go into full detail, but let's say the husband owned a service business.
Okay.
And he wanted to bring the wife on as a partner in the service business, just because she was going to help with the books and stuff like that. And there are some tax advantages to doing that.
Yep.
Then the son was going to come on as well as a partner. And then they figured, okay, we'll bring in the daughter-in-law too, because they're married, and that will have some tax advantages too. Okay. So they do all that. And then they come to me and they said, hey, we want to put together the partnership agreement. Now, the father has owned the business for about 25 years. We do all the work. Now, I sit with these people and I say, look, I just want you to understand what happens when, and I give the same spiel to anybody that's starting a partnership. I want you to understand what happens when partnerships begin. You're family now, but when money's involved, blah, blah, no. Don't worry about us. We're so close. We're hugging each other. Nothing's ever going to go wrong. We're a family.
Less than 2 years?
18 months. About 18 months. I get a call. We have to come in and talk to you. Okay, what's the matter? The father and son aren't speaking to each other because they have different opinions on how to run the business. Now, they're together because they gave the mother and the mother and daughter-in-law got, I want to say 10% each. So the father and son split the rest. So they're like 40-40, 10 and 10. So the father and son own equal shares. So they have equal say. And they're at odds on how to run the business. And now they're not speaking with each other.
Yep.
This happens all the time.
Yep.
It usually happens with best friends. Best friends get together and they want to start a business. And they think it's going to be the greatest, most glorious thing ever. We've been friends since we were 8 years old. We're in our 30s now. Nothing could ever change that relationship. And within a couple of years, they hate each other.
Yep.
And it's an unfortunate reality. Now, again, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's what you said earlier. You did not plan properly beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have on the table all your cards need to be out. Every one of your expectations need to be out there so the other person knows what your expectations are, and all their expectations so you know what they are.
So I did this. I set up a business with a partner that's still running. And when we sat down and talked about it, I flat out looked at him and said, I want you to be the 55% owner. And he went, why? I'm like, because one of us ultimately always has to make the final decision. So I trust you to do it because I know you would trust me. Because if I can't trust you to make the decisions, I probably shouldn't be doing this in the first place. Right? So if you are, and that's kind of my rule of thumb, is if you aren't willing to hand control fully over to your partner, you probably shouldn't be getting into a partnership with them at all.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the level that it might take. And I'm willing to do it on paper as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I don't trust you to that level, I'm not getting into business with you at all. Like, period.
But let's digress.
Yes.
Let's go back to
this.
They're already in business.
Yes.
Okay. How do we save this business and this relationship? All right. So you and I might differ here. I don't know. We've never actually had this discussion, so you and I might differ.
We had a similar one, but yes.
Okay. Did we?
We
probably did. We've had a lot of discussions.
Yeah.
All right. So you're putting in 8, he's putting in 4.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the simple solution is, if you're really worried about the money, just put in 4. Right? Just put in 4, let him put in 4, and you split it evenly. If you need 12 in there in order to keep the business going, and you're putting in 8, he's putting in 4, it doesn't have to be, you can still keep it 50-50, just make the second 4, so you put in 4, he puts in 4, that's your equity buy-in, and then the other 4 is a loan, and that gets paid back over time. That's another way to do it, to keep it even. Another way to do it is say, it's $4,000, or 4,000 euro. We're starting a business. If we're not going to make more than 4,000 euro, 4,000 euro is what we're worried about. What's the point, right? Years from now, when this business is doing very well, who cares about 4,000 euro? It really doesn't matter. Keep it 50-50, right? I don't like the idea of already getting, butting heads because you're putting in 8,000 euro and he's only putting in 4,000 euro. There's 100 different ways to skin that cat. And I would say, number one, you got to keep, if this is already affecting your relationship, just stop. You're done. It's not going to work. If this is affecting your relationship as boyfriend, girlfriend, it's already over. It's just a matter of time. You're talking about money. What happens when the real pressure comes?
What happens when you add a 0 to that?
Right. You add a 0 to it. Right. Exactly.
Right.
And what happens when the tax man comes a knocking, or you get sued and liability man comes a knocking? Who's paying it then? Is that relationship really going to survive that?
So my thing with this is, what do you value more, the relationship or the money? Right? Because you can't value both equally in this instance. And she's flat out saying that she doesn't value it equally. Right. In the name of fairness. Right. Well, if it was in the name of fairness, this question would have been asked completely differently. Right. I would have done it differently. I would have just said, both of us, it's not going to be a capital contribution. We're both going to lend the money at a certain interest rate. And the company has to pay us back starting at X date. And let's say you do it at a 10% interest rate, just for argument's sake.
They want you a credit card?
Well, if you're lending,
it's a high risk lend. I know. That's hard money, man.
Correct.
That's a hard money loan. Right there.
And then, so both of them become loans. That means you're both going to get your money out with interest, right? And you're going to get more because the interest.
You put in more, right?
Correct. So that's the conversation that should have taken place, rather than this becoming a fight or an issue this early on. There would have been so many other ways to solve this, but this is already now like a thorn in their side, and it's going to be a thorn in her side. The fact that she's asking this, and if she hasn't had this conversation with him, and he's just thinking, well, we're in this together, right? Like he's probably seeing this as it's our opportunity, our money, because we're going to be together anyway. So what does it matter?
Yeah.
She's not.
She's not thinking that.
Not from what I can tell, right? So for anybody thinking about this in the future, so let's go away from this. This would have been solvable by just calling it a loan instead of capital contribution. There would have been no fight. This question never would have existed, right? But you and I have had this conversation about before you form the business, before you write that document, you have to have these conversations, right? Like, what if the company needs capital contributions? Does that change the ownership structure if people contribute different things, right? And that's a conversation you should have before you start, not once you're up and running and already have the business established, because now it's going to be a problem.
And a lot of people will say, and you'll see it on Reddit and stuff too. You'll see all the time, oh, you don't need to go to an attorney, just do it yourself, fill out these forms, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes. You can just go and fill out these forms. The reason you go to an attorney, and again, I'm not pitching myself here because they're in Europe, I don't care. I know, but the reason you go to an attorney is because you don't know how to ask those questions. You don't know what those questions are.
I had this conversation on Tuesday with a guy.
Did you really?
Him and two guys set up a business together. And last year was easy because they only ended up making like their total like net profit was like, I don't know, 30 grand or something between the three of them. So it was, an easy split. Right. So then I asked him, like, what if you add a 0 to that? Now, what happens if you fall off a ladder? And you're out for 8 months, do you still have rights to 30% of what the business did?
Yeah.
Because they're the ones out there working for it.
And you're not.
And you're not. Yep. I'm like, do you have insurance for it? Right? What happens if you're permanently disabled and you can't rejoin the business? Are you still a 30% owner?
Yep.
Do you still have rights to 30% of all the net revenue? Yeah. Are they okay with that?
Are any of those guys married? Oh, if they are, what happens if they get divorced?
Correct.
Does the wife now come in and take 50% of his ownership?
Yeah. So do you now have 3 partners instead of 2 partners?
I could spend the next hour asking those questions. And I do all the time with my clients. I bring them in and they're like, okay, we want to form a partnership, a multi-member LLC or a corporation as a partnership, whatever. Great. No problem. No, that's wonderful. I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah.
Now, here are all the things we have to consider. And sometimes they just sit there like, I wouldn't have thought of that. Of course you wouldn't have thought of that. Why would you have thought? It's like me taking my car to the mechanic and my mechanic showing me all the things he's looking at. I wouldn't know what to look at.
And it's the stuff that like people never think would happen, right? Like, so let's say you have a partner and the partner goes to a party, he gets drunk and gets wrongfully accused of assault.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
The case drags on. His name is dragged through the mud.
Which means the business's name is dragged through the mud. Right.
So what happens in that situation?
Yeah.
Right. Whether he gets like convicted or not, the damage is already done.
Yep.
Right. Like even if they find out, it wasn't him. It was a totally different guy altogether.
Yeah.
His name has still been dragged through the mud. Your business has been dragged through the mud. Like, do you have a temporary exit clause that if something like this happened, the person removes themselves completely from the business? Yep. His name gets taken, like, and it's all people are like, oh, stuff like that doesn't happen.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I'll give you a very simple one that will happen to every business at some point, right? You have 3 partners, 4 partners, who cares, right? And everything's going okay. The business is self-sufficient, right? And then there's a downturn in the economy.
Yep.
And the business is no longer self-sufficient.
Yep.
And one of the partners is like, I got to support my family. I got to get out. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Or
it was what was it? There was some company that is really, really big now, like really big, where one of the partners was made CEO, and he's like, I got to lay you guys off. The other partners. He's
Get
like,
out of here.
No, he's like, the company can't afford to keep you on.
Wow.
Based on the salaries that we've negotiated, I have to lay you off. Right? And he was the managing partner.
And he's doing what's right for the company because you have a fiduciary responsibility to do that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So he laid them off, and it ended up
they
being
still own the company, but they're not earning a paycheck.
Correct. They're no longer working in the company that they own. Right.
Oh, man.
Right? Because they weren't willing to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
Because they were like, well, then we can't support our family. And the guy was like, my
And
responsibility.
those are things
Yep.
that you get again, that's part of my checklist that we asked beforehand. If there's a downturn in the economy and you can't pay yourselves,
Yep.
what do you do?
Yeah.
And I'll have 4 people in a room giving 5 different answers.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Some people say we just continue working. So I can't just continue working. Well, are you going to put money into the company? And then that starts a conversation, which sometimes turns into a little bit of an argument.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just question 1.
Yeah. Right.
So a lot of people don't realize that when you're starting a partnership with somebody, you really are starting a marriage. And sometimes it's, multiple people involved in the marriage, and you all have different expectations, and you all have different desires, and you all have different goals. And if you don't iron that out beforehand, right? Now, listen, you're not going to get every possible situation. You're just not. But at least talking to an attorney or just going online and doing some research, you'll be able to get the most likely situations. And quite frankly, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So you have to plan for those things beforehand. Otherwise, you're going to get in a situation like this here where one person can put up more money than the other,
right.
and it's already tearing the relationship apart.
And it's funny because like as your business grows, it becomes bigger, especially if you're in a business that can grow rapidly, right? Like let's say you start a fashion brand and it becomes really big and you end up getting so big that you need a board of directors. Can the board fire you?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Right.
Technically, they can, right? Like it's your business, but you can be ousted.
I got a perfect example of that.
Steve Jobs?
No, friend of mine is starting a company.
Sam Altman?
Yeah, right. Buddy of mine. Yeah, we're smoking cigars to us later on today. You should join us. So he's starting a company with a bunch of other, 3 other people. He knows nothing about the industry, my friend, but the other guys are all veterans in the industry. Okay. They're bringing their knowledge and everything in the industry. He's putting up $5 million cash. They're not putting up any money. He's putting up all the cash.
Yep.
Okay. I made it perfectly clear to him, if you're going to do this, we must put in there that nobody can kick you out of the company. You have to have final say when it comes to board members, officers, employees. No one can remove you from the company. End of story.
Right.
Because I've seen it happen before where this guy puts up the money, the other people get together, and then they force him out. And now they have all the money. This person no longer owns the business because the business isn't worth anything because there was no actual revenue.
Right.
But now they got the $5 million or whatever it is, and they forced this person out. And that person didn't think beforehand, or they didn't get an attorney to say, if you're going to be the only one putting up the money, you have to have a provision in there that you can't be forced out.
Right.
So, all right. Adventurous Art 995. I feel for you. I do. I get it. You're putting up more money than your partner. I think for when you're talking about €4,000 versus €8,000, you're all, if that's really bothering you, you're already looking at disaster, right? You either look beyond it, you restructure it so part of it's a loan or all of it's a loan. Otherwise, this is if this is a problem, you just wait till the real problems begin.
Yep.
So good luck to you. You're more than welcome to write us in the comments, and we'd love to follow up and get you some more information, get you some more advice. But right now, it's either accept it as it is, restructure it, or move on.
My thing is figure out which one you value more, the partnership or the money. Yeah. It's 4,000 is not worth.
It's not. It's just not.
It's not.
All right, let's see. Savo Mac Daddy says, business ideas for a 12-year-old. Greetings, entrepreneurs of Reddit. I need some help in seeking it, but we did something like this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we did.
Well, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
My soon-to-be 12-year-old asked if I could help him start a business. I love it. 12 years old. I'd love it.
Mm-hmm.
He is very intelligent, mildly autistic kid. Think of young Sheldon, who overperforms in everything he puts his mind to, sports and school. I have no doubt that he will put into this project as much time and energy as needed to make it successful. Unfortunately for me, I have no business experience or ideas that can to be helpful. I gave him the usual wash cars, mow lawns, clean yards, but I feel like he has a lot more potential than that. He is an avid reader and researcher and very quickly becomes an expert into topics. Please help me with some ideas. Think as a successful business person, what advice would you give your 12-year-old self? Where would you spend your time and energy? Thanks in advance. Well, that's easy. Buy Bitcoin. If I was 12, go way back when.
Right.
Say, well, in 20 years, go buy Bitcoin.
So here's the thing.
Other than that.
So here's the thing, right? Like, I feel like he has a lot more potential than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, but here's the thing. When I sit back and I look at all the multimillionaires that I know, not the millionaires, but the multimillionaires, all of them come from construction, HVAC, landscaping. Like, they're all blue collar industries.
Yeah.
In businesses that they started very young, but they learned cash flow. They learned how to invest. So a lot of their multi-million worth didn't come from just doing the work. It came from managing the business itself.
Yes, it does.
Right? And then using the business profits to further invest in other things.
So fun you say this. I'll tell you why in a second. Go ahead.
So, like, I don't think everybody their goal shouldn't go to be a coder or a programmer or try to come up with the next big software. Like, if you start early enough mowing lawns and then you teach him how to hire a couple of his friends so they can mow twice the amount of lawns, and he learns how to manage other people and be responsible and understand cash flow and all that stuff at age 12, all these traditional businesses, the car washes, the lawn mowing, the snow removal, the stuff we talked about, are incredibly viable long-term businesses that can make you incredibly wealthy, right? Like, one of the richest guys recently was that damn septic guy that was on, did you ever watch the show Dirty Jobs?
No, I know of it, but I never watched it.
So he went out and they were doing these like septic cleanouts and stuff. So the guy started working with his dad when he was young, doing these septic tank cleanouts and stuff. And the guy was super smart. So he actually started inventing new equipment that they use in the septic industry.
Oh, cool. Oh, patents.
Dude,
oh, yeah, that's it. Done.
And not only that, he also owns the manufacturing that actually makes the equipment.
Once you get the patent on something that everybody needs, that's it. You're set for life.
So, like, saying things like, oh, you know, he has more potential than that. Like, I don't think you understand the potential needed to run a successful lawn care business. I don't think you understand the potential needed to run a actual car wash, not just like washing cars, but like a car wash. Right? Who is that? Cody Sanchez always talks about, you know, the boring businesses. Okay?
Yeah.
Laundromats. There's nothing exciting about it. Right?
Makes a lot of money.
They do make a lot of money, right?
A lot of money.
So it's more about the experience of running a business necessarily than what the business is at that age.
So that's a great point. So what I was going to say was, so this summer, my son will be home from college for the summer. I'm getting him and like 4 or 5 of his friends, and they're going to start coming to the office 3 or 4 days a week. And I'm just going to teach them what it means to run a business.
So I got to give you, we were talking about my daughter's lemonade stand.
Yes.
So over the last few weeks, since we talked about that, I've been going over stuff with her.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we haven't started putting numbers on paper yet. But she was like, oh, I want to build a lemonade stand and stuff. And I'm like, okay, then we're going to have to spend money on the wood and all this stuff. And she had sketches of what she wanted it to look like. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to build this fancy lemonade stand, but you're going to use a lot of your money then on buying the wood and the paint and all this stuff. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, so you understand that if you're spending your money on building the stand, you're not going to be able to fully supply it. You're not going to be able to buy all the lemons and the sodas and the snacks and all that stuff you want to have in it. She goes, well, that's not very smart. And I go, well, she's like, so if I make the lemonade stand less fancy and I use less wood and more cardboard, because I can get the cardboard
free,
right? She's like, then I can buy more supplies and have more options for the people to buy stuff. And I'm like, that is correct. She's like, that seems smarter. I'm like, yes, it does.
And
right?
then when you make more money, then you can.
She's 8.
Yeah.
Right. And she's already starting to understand just by explaining basic things to her that, where to put your money when you're starting up matters a lot.
Yeah.
So those are the types. Am I excited about her having an all summer every weekend lemonade stand outside my house where there's no damn traffic? No. Right. Like, next thing I'm going to talk to her about is, why don't you talk to the church and see if you can set up your lemonade stand on Sundays?
Right.
Right. Rather than doing it outside of her house. Now she's learning about business locations, like how location matters.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of like, it's the fundamentals that you teach. It's not the business that they're doing.
Right.
I don't care if her lemonade stand ever makes money. I care about the lessons she's learning about everything involved in the process.
So that's what I'm getting at. So I'm going to have all these, I think they're all in college. Yeah, they're all college students. They'll be home for the summer. Bring your daughter; she'll love it. And honestly, though, I could care less about what kind of business they're thinking they want to start at some point. It doesn't matter. I'm going to show them, here are all the things involved in running a business, right? Everything from, you got to start the business. You got to do this. There's HR, there's accounting, bookkeeping and such, right? There's marketing. There's so many, customer service. There's all these things that are involved. And guess who's doing them all when you first start out?
Right.
You.
Yes.
All of them. You need to know how to do all of these things before you even open the doors. And people don't realize that. They think they can just go and start a business and don't realize all the various things that have to go into it. Right. You got to wear 12 hats when you're first starting out.
You always have to understand the fundamentals of it, whether you're doing it or not.
Right.
Right.
You don't have to be an expert.
No,
but you need to at least understand how to keep track of expenses.
Yes.
What a receipt, what to do with the receipts, right? What an asset is versus a liability. People, you'd be amazed what people don't know.
So it was funny. I was just, it's not directly business related, right? So my daughter had 4 of her friends over a few months ago, and they all wanted to stay for dinner. So we did like build your own pizzas. I made the dough, all that stuff, right? So as we're done and they're sitting there eating, they were talking about the things they wanted to buy, right? Because it was one of their birthdays and she was going to get money. And I gave them an entire 15-minute lecture on investing and buying mutual funds and stocks.
Is that why they never came back?
No.
I'm just kidding.
The funny thing is, my wife has a picture. My wife has a picture of the moment, and they're all sitting there like this. For 15 minutes, they didn't touch their food.
Right.
They literally just sat there and listened. And then when I was done, and they started eating their pizzas, and then like 5 minutes later, one of them raises their hand. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, so what you're saying is that if I don't buy this Barbie now, and I put that money in one of those fun things you were talking about, I could buy 10 Barbies in the future? And I'm like, that's exactly what I said.
That's amazing.
She's like,
I love it.
That makes so much sense.
I love it.
Right? And I'm like, yes. And that's how you got to look at it. Like whenever you spend the money now on something you don't really need, I'm like, because do you need another Barbie? And she's like, well, I don't really need it. I just want it. And I'm like, okay. So anytime you spend money on stuff that you don't need, don't look at it as I spent this $10 now, but look at it as if you spent $100.
You lost 90 that you could have earned over later on.
That $10 could be worth 100.
Yeah.
But you just wanted another Barbie instead of wanting that $100. She goes, yeah, I don't think I'm going to Target on Sunday.
I love it.
I was like, that's awesome.
And her mom's going to call you. What did you do to my kid?
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. The
mom doesn't understand.
The mom texted my wife and went, why does my daughter not want to spend her money at Target on Sunday? What did your husband say?
Exactly. And it's a shame because a lot of parents don't know either. Yeah. They don't know how to teach their kids that.
So it wasn't like she was actually glad, right? Like, because he had been trying to tell her. But she had done it under the pretense of you got to learn how to save money.
Yeah, it's different.
Correct.
It's very different.
Like I gave
saving and investing are very different things.
So when you look at saving as losing something, rather than saving as getting something from it, it's totally different. Right?
It is.
So I just had to bring. I was thinking about it as we were
fantastic.
talking about.
I love that. No, that's the kind of stuff that this 12-year-old needs to know.
Correct.
Right. Seriously, Save a Mac Daddy. You want to teach your 12-year-old something? Don't give him a lawnmower. Don't teach that kid what it means to run a business. Teach that kid what it means to save money. Teach that kid what it is to allocate funds for this, this, and this.
Yes, and it's no different than running a household. No. It's just on a bigger scale, right? Because that's the next conversation I'm having with my daughter is when we're done this summer, whatever money she has, now she's going to have an 8-month gap. So now we're going to have the conversation, well, where are we going to keep this money? Is it going to go under your pillow? Are we going to put it into a fund? Or are we going to buy stocks with it so that money could potentially earn money for those 8 months? So that's the whole conversation that's going to take place next. But
I love it.
That's really understanding how money works because that's how it works in a business, right?
Right.
If you buy a new piece of equipment, you're not spending $50,000 on a piece of equipment. You're increasing your earning potential to $1 million.
Correct.
Right?
Well, you should be.
It should be.
That's what you should be doing with it. Right.
Right. So like if you go out and once again was having this conversation with a guy earlier in the week, right? He does demolition. And he's like, I really need a good what's it called? A sawzall?
Sawzall.
Yeah, sawzall, right? And he's like, right now I can't afford to buy the really good industrial one.
Right.
He's like, so I'm doing it by hand and sledgehammer and manual saw. Because he's like, I don't want to have to buy a cheap one to then have to buy a cheap one again to then maybe being able to. He's like, I'd rather do it the hard way till I can buy the one that's going to last. And I'm like, that's good. I'm like, but how many jobs are you losing out on because you're now taking 6 hours to do a demo that should have taken you 3?
Right.
Right. So you might be better off buying that cheap one twice because you can do more jobs. You may not even have to buy it twice. You might be able to just buy it once because if you can get more jobs done, that's more income, right? So it's a gradual, like you don't have to go out and buy the 0-turn 48-inch super turbo lawnmower as your first lawnmower.
But there is something to be said for incurring debt to do that. Sometimes it is worth incurring debt to get there because whereas your guy with the Sawzall might not be able to make enough money for 2 years to buy that really good one, but if he were to buy the good one, he can get more work done over the next 2 years to then pay that back and earn more.
That's the difference between good debt and bad debt, right? Like good debt helps you make more money. Bad debt just takes on additional liability with no reward.
Right, exactly. Again, these are things that people need to know if they're going to run a business.
Yeah.
So many people are like, oh, I don't want to go into debt. Sometimes you need to.
Yeah.
Sometimes the debt's a good thing because you need to grow. You need to get money into the bank account so that you can buy whatever equipment you need or get the people you need.
Yeah. I think a lot of this also is just like the guy says, right? Like he doesn't know a lot about business, but you got to take lessons that you learn in life managing money and just apply it to business, right? Like, I have a rule with cars, for example, right? Everybody knows that a car loses most of its depreciation in the first 2 years, right? In fact, when you drive it off
2 years, drive it off the lot, it's 30%.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the first 2 years is where it proportionally loses most of its value.
Right. So buy a 3-year-old car.
No, I always buy a 2-year-old car.
2-year car, you're right, yeah.
And ideally, I try to find something that came off of lease or was owned by the dealership. Yep. Those are the two best deals you can get,
absolutely.
Right? So like when I bought my Suburban, I bought it with 13,000 miles on it, 2 years old, and I paid roughly 15% under Blue Book value for it because it was a fleet car.
Okay.
Right? Was phenomenally taken care of because most fleet cars actually have mechanics that check the cars and work on them. And like when I got in the car, you wouldn't have known that it was a 2-year-old car. It might as well have come right off. It practically had the new car smell in it still, right?
That's a spray.
Right. But I could have gone and bought the brand new Suburban off the lot? Yeah, I could have. It's just, I would rather take the difference in that money, right? Rather than paying that extra 30% for that new car. I would rather take that money and invest it somewhere, because that additional invested money will make the down payment on the next car that much less.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But that's fundamentally how you should approach business.
Okay, so Save Up Mac Daddy, I hope we've given you some advice. Hey, look, if you're in the Philadelphia area, I'm serious. I'm doing this over the summer with probably about 7 or 8 kids. Bring them.
Yeah.
For her. I'm not sure if it's a boy or a girl. Say son.
Just
it says son. Okay. Bring him over. Love to be part of it. It'd be awesome. No, I don't think he says.
Help him
Okay,
start
great.
a business.
So bring your son over. Awesome. If not, sorry, but that's what you got to do. I would say, and he says it here that he doesn't understand business himself. Go find someone that does. Yeah. I promise you there are people out there like me, like you, that would gladly sit with that kid a couple hours a week and just shadow me. Come shadow me. Come sit in a meeting and see what it's like.
I take interns all the time from high school.
Yeah.
And let them follow me around. Like they literally drive with me. They come with me to the golf course.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I want you to see what it's like.
And they're not your caddy.
They're not my caddy. They get to just come along. Right.
So best of luck to you. And best of luck to your son. I think that's awesome that he wants to do that stuff. All right. I'll let you pick the next one. There's some pretty good ones here today, actually. I'm liking this.
Would you start a business? Would you start a business with someone who never takes accountability?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. That's the person you want.
This is from Rahul Rowe. 1313 asks, would you start a business with someone who never takes accountability? I was considering starting a business with my friend, but he never takes accountability. He always blames others for his mistakes, doesn't do house chores, doesn't keep the place clean, and even twists things like grocery splits to avoid responsibility. This isn't a one-time thing. It's a pattern. Would he be a bad co-founder, or am I overthinking it? I mean, I feel like this is a troll. Right? I know it's not, and I get it. You want to see the best in your buddy. No, man. Nope. Not gonna happen. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You're gonna do all the work.
Once again, if you are on here asking this question, you probably already know the answer.
You know the answer. You're going to do all the work. You're going to try to string your buddy along. They're always going to have an excuse as to why they couldn't do X, Y, and Z. Oh, I don't have any money this week. Oh, I couldn't get to that job this week. Oh, I couldn't work this week. Oh, my back. Oh, this, oh, that. You're going to do everything. But then when it comes time to get some money out, when it gets time to get paid, he's going to be the first one there with his hand out.
Yep.
And you're going to be like, well, I did all the work. I should get, well, I'm your partner. We get paid evenly. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
So this is a hard no for me.
It's a very hard no.
Very hard no.
Hard no for me, dog. Right?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
Randy always say, right? So, I mean, that's just the reality, right?
But this is what we were talking about in the beginning, right? Like, this is why it's important to get to know people personally, because it tells you a lot about how they are going to be to work with.
Yeah.
And if everything in their personal life points to that you shouldn't, why take the risk? Right. Starting a business is risk enough. Do you really need additional risks involved in that process?
So, I mean, even the comments, right? I think you know the answer. No. Right? Run. I spent 6 years on this. For the love of God, run. I like this. Then this guy says there's a Chinese proverb. He who blames others has a king journey ahead of him. He blames himself is halfway there. He who blames no one has arrived. I like that. I've never heard that before. You heard that?
No.
That's a nice one. I like that.
This is what we were talking about in a previous episode, right? Like when I was talking about like family members and stuff like that. And I'm like, ultimately, I had to get to the point where I was like, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
Like it was regardless of who messed what up, the buck stopped here.
Yeah.
I should have been the one that saw this. I should have been the one pushing for it. I should have been like, it was all my responsibility, whether someone else did it or not.
I can't help but think of Family Guy.
I never got into that show.
Oh my God, it's so great. There's so many little clips and things in Family Guy that they just work. And eventually it makes sense somewhere where it was they did a cutaway to when Matt Damon was writing Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
Right. And he's the one doing all the work, and Ben Affleck's just sitting on the couch smoking pot.
Really?
And then he says, Good Will Hunting by Matt Damon. And Ben Affleck. And Ben Affleck. So funny. Oh my God.
That's funny.
So that's the kind of thing here, right? It's like, look, if you have to ask the question, you know this kind of person, kind of person is. It might be a good friend, might be a good buddy, but it's not going to be a good business partner.
You can help him out, but like, don't get him involved.
No, I wouldn't get him involved. So I'm trying to stay away from him as much as possible. I mean,
one more.
And one more. All right, let's see. That's not what I want. Here we go.
Young entrepreneur.
Well, I think we did that already.
Really?
Well, we talked about the 12-year-old, right? Well, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this one individual. All right, we'll talk about this one individual.
Managed to lose $700 in a month. That's a good start.
All right, so this is from Electron11. Young entrepreneur needs tips.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm 15-year-old male in high school. Since I was 13, started to make some money online. Some were bad and others made me lose a lot of money for perspective. 6 months ago, I started to learn a lot from crypto and managed to lose $700 in a month. That's all right.
Okay.
That money really hit me because it was pretty much everything I had. I also own a clothing brand theme page on Instagram that I'm slowly building to sell digital products, but it has been 6 months now, and I only have 600 followers, but I will be continuing posting 2 times a day to grow this page. Twice a day is pretty good. For more context, I'm also starting a clothing brand with my friend with knowledge that I get to sell a course and digital products. Like I said, my personal brand that I am building. I started every side hustle I saw on TikTok like a dumb 15-year-old, like reselling, door-to-door sales, drop shipping, but nothing worked. They don't work. Stop it. They don't work. Because I stopped trying. I figured the people there promote these easy money guides, get their money from the course they sell. Of course they do.
Yeah.
I want to start my business and really try to make some money online. For 2 years, I've read books about sales and marketing, around 1,000 hours of money, marketing, business guides on YouTube, etc. I'm coming here as a young entrepreneur asking more experienced people, which types of business should I start learning and doing that can really scale and not be a side hustle? Thanks in advance.
Okay. So,
Get gummy.
No, there's an old saying, if you can't say it better than someone else already did, use their words.
Yeah.
And there is since he is on YouTube and all that stuff, there is a clip of Alex Hormozi. Right.
Yeah.
And what I think makes Alex Hormozi brilliant is the fact that he explains things in such a simple way. Right. So what he does is he has a pitcher of water. Right. And then he has 5 cups in front of him. And he goes, if this is your energy, attention, everything that you have, and you have to divide this among 6 cups, how much does each cup get?
Right.
Right. Versus if you take and then dumps all the cups into one cup, and that cup is now full because it has all your energy. The reality is all of this stuff works, right? What happens is you get this shiny object mentality.
The next shiny big thing. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to move to this. I'm going to I spent 6 months to learn about crypto and lost $700 in a month. Well, apparently you didn't learn a lot. Right? Because crypto goes up and down.
It's only $700.
Correct. Like I lost $700, I think, in the last hour. Right. But I also made $48,000 in 6 months because I literally started studying not crypto, but the underlying asset behind whatever it is that I was buying. Right. So there are traders out there that are making a boatload of money trading.
Yeah.
So did you learn about crypto or did you learn about trading?
Right.
Because they're 2 different things.
They are different things. Yeah.
And same thing. I'm building an Instagram page to sell digital products. Okay. That's not going to work. Like that. Everybody and their uncle is trying to do it. So unless you have a track record and a reason for someone to buy your digital product, like people bought Alex Hormozi's physical book because he has a track record, right? People were buying these digital products originally because the guys that were putting this stuff out had been there, done that, and were trying to teach you how to do it. Now, a lot of these digital products is literally people creating books using ChatGPT and then selling them as if they're their content. And they've never made any money, but they're convincing you that you can make money if you buy this. Like it's crap, right? And then we are into this, but then I got to build my personal brand, which is another big thing that's out there now, right? Like, I got to build my personal brand because then I can sell anything. Well, yeah, but you got to build your brand on something. Yep. You don't become a personal brand just by posting, right?
Yeah.
Like,
hey, look at me. Okay.
Right. So any creator that's out there where people are like, well, but they just put stuff out. And I'm like, yeah, but they put it out. Like they know what their brand is, right? For some, it's the way they look. For some, it's the jokes they can tell. Mm-hmm. For some, it's their ability to edit. For some, it's their knowledge, right? So every personal brand is still based on something.
Yep.
It's not just putting out content for the sake of putting out content. If you really want to start a business, pick something and dedicate all of your time to it for the next 2 years. Right? I don't care what it is. If you want to sell bath soaps, then dedicate the next 2 years to selling soap.
Yeah.
And you will be surprised how many soaps you can sell in the course of 2 years because you're already putting all this effort into all this crap that's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
If you would take all this energy and focus it, you could literally become a millionaire selling soap or candles.
Yeah. Or, you know what else? And what's more likely? You'll fail. Okay, great.
Then you learned.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I was actually saw a video with Gary Vee this morning, and he said he was talking to a 19-year-old. He was like, "How old are you? 19. Oh, yeah. I hope you fail. Hope you fail so bad
for the next 19 years.
Yeah, for the next 19 years, because by the time you're 40, you're going to be a millionaire, and you're going to know what to do. And it's like you don't have to succeed today.
Correct.
And he's absolutely right.
And it's interesting because I talked to a guy that found me on TikTok and reached out, and he was like, if you would have told me that I was selling log cabins on the internet and delivering $300,000 and $400,000 log cabins all throughout the U.S.,
right.
He's like, I would have said you were full of it, right? But he spends 2 to 3 hours a day live streaming different cabins that they've pre-built. Wow. So they basically have a giant area with all the showroom.
Yeah.
And that's all he does for 2 or 3 hours a day. Just walks around live streaming the cabins.
That's crazy.
Never shows his face on camera.
Right.
You would not know what he looks like because he's never shown his face on camera. And now he's having a conversation about he wants to introduce something else into it, where they can start putting things inside the log cabins.
Yep.
So now they're selling additional stuff. So you can buy the log cabin, but you could also buy the log cabin fully furnished, or you could buy the log cabin and a jet ski with it. And I'm like,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's such a simple way, right? But he built the entire thing on just selling log cabins that are ready to be delivered.
That's awesome.
That's it.
All right, so Electron 11, dude, we got you, man. I totally get where you're coming from. I love it. I love this, the entrepreneurial spirit. Focus right now. Take the time to focus. If you want to learn about other things, yeah, no problem with going out and reading about Instagram and TikTok and all. Great, go read about crypto and trading. Yeah. Awesome. But if you're going to do something, focus on that.
Yes.
That one thing. You can learn all you want about other things, but the one thing that you're going to focus on, whatever it is, you lose if you want to be trading crypto, go trade crypto. Go lose $700. That's okay. Then learn from your mistakes and do something else, but stay on that path. Don't keep jumping from ship to ship. Otherwise, you're never going to learn anything.
Did you learn why whatever you bought went down?
Exactly.
If you didn't, you just wasted $700.
Exactly.
Right? Like
so. Best of luck to you. We're here if you need us. Leave something in the comments, and we'll try to get back to you. All right, man. That's gonna be it for today. We gotta do a short one today.
I know.
You and I have some meetings we have to get to. So
we actually have this thing called work.
We have this job, this whole business we gotta run.
Making money.
We're rethinking running a business. All right, man. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk next time.